Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Competition Conference Event News Group. This is Mohammad Muhasalom. I'm studying computer science engineering in International University of Business, Agriculture and Technology. And alongside with this, I'm doing my summer internship at Stably, which is a fintech company. Today, our topic is from Amazon to Stably, a startup fintech. And we have a very special guest with ourselves, that is Zhang. So we are looking for a very good show. আপনারা যারা বাংলাদেশি দেখছেন তাদেরকে অবশ্যই আমি স্বাগতম জানাচ্ছি এবং আমি আরো বলতে চাই যে আপনারা যারা এই লাইভ শোটি দেখছেন আপনারা যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে ডেভিডের কাছে, সে অনেক এক্সপেরিয়েন্স একজন সফটওয়্যার ডেভেলপমেন্ট এবং টেকনোলজির দিক দিয়ে। আপনার যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে অথবা এন্টারপ্রেনারশিপ নিয়ে কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে, অবশ্যই তাকে আপনারা প্রশ্ন করবেন কমেন্টের মাধ্যমে। আমি আপনাদের সেই কমেন্টগুলো আপনাদের কাছে নিয়ে তাকে জিজ্ঞাসা করবো। সে অবশ্যই অনেক ভালো তার এক্সপিরিয়েন্স গুলো শেয়ার করবে আমার মনে হয়। সো আমরা আর দেরি না করে আমরা তাকে লাইভে নিয়ে আসি। হ্যালো ডেভিড, কেমন আছো?
ভালো আছি, কেমন আছো?
হ্যাঁ, আমিও ভালো। Let's start our topic, live show in English, right? So welcome to my show. Let's introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm David, co-founder and CTO at Stably. As the title of this episode suggests, I was a software engineer at Amazon before deciding to, start the startup. And just a little bit about myself, I studied computer science and math, and I've always had a passion for financial markets. So, when this whole blockchain thing started, it was sort of like a no-brainer for me to get into the space. So that's all I'll say for now. I'll save the good stuff for later.
Thank you, David, for your nice introduction. Let me start asking a question that many people want to be an entrepreneur in future, and they think that they are facing some social problems, they have some ideas. So is just an idea can make him a good entrepreneur? So what is your opinion on that? What are the qualities needed to be a good entrepreneur?
Yeah, so that's a very common sort of question. People often, I think, overvalue how much an idea is worth. Like, everyone has ideas, and good ideas are harder to find, but they're not even that rare, right? Really, what separates people that manage to do something from those that don't is really about execution. So actually going out and doing the thing that you set out to do. Now, in terms of what kind of traits or qualities might help you with being an entrepreneur, I mean, there's no sort of template or one size fits all like entrepreneur, right? You can be any sort of person and still succeed. But that being said, there's a couple of traits that I think are going to be helpful along the way. The most important one, in my opinion at least, is flexibility. So, being an entrepreneur means that you're going to be picking up a lot of skills. You're going to be operating in a fast-changing market. You're going to be doing a lot of different things, and staying flexible is sort of your advantage, right? Like being able to go where the market goes, being able to change when your ideas, are invalidated. These are all things that increase your probability of success. And, something else that's sort of related to this is risk appetite. So, unlike having a steady job, being an entrepreneur means that you're taking on a lot of uncertainty, right? You don't know if, the product that you're building is going to be good. You don't know how the market will react to it. You don't know how the market will change in a month, in a year. So these are all things that, you can plan for and prepare for, but at the end, there's always going to be some risk. And then another quality that I would say is the ability to think for yourself. So, a lot of people sort of just want to go with what the crowd says. But if the crowd is already saying something, most likely there isn't really much of an opportunity there, right? So being an entrepreneur, you sort of have to learn how to make decisions from first principles, meaning, try to figure out what the truth is, what the data says, and try to make a decision from that, rather than, trying to see what's already proven and trying to replicate, what already exists. But like I said, there's no, sort of template. You can be, if you look at the types of people that have succeeded as entrepreneurs in the past, they're, an extremely wide range of backgrounds, wide range of personalities. So I don't really think there's a magic formula. You just kind of have to give it a try.
Thank you, David, for your nice answer. So you already mentioned a line that crowd will many things. So I will ask you a question in this regards that if anyone want to be an entrepreneur, he had to face a lot of feedback from others. And sometimes people said it's not possible for you. It's very hard to maintain a business, to conduct a business. So what's your suggestion on like how to deal with this negative criticism of people?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not just, I think in general, if you want to be an entrepreneur or if you want to do something where there's not a lot of like guidance, you have to be able to take feedback, right? And that's both positive feedback and negative feedback. Because at the end of the day, your goal is to figure out what is the truth, right? The truth is your friend. And whether you get data from, people interacting with your product or from, criticism, like criticism can be helpful feedback. But I guess my caveat here is that not all criticism is useful, right? Some people just, have a problem with some way that you're doing something or some way that you're approaching something. And maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. Like at the end of the day, sometimes it just doesn't really matter because most of the time there's more than one way to do things. And, based on people's different backgrounds and experiences, everyone has a different opinion. So you can't make everyone happy. But I guess my sort of advice for this is like sort of learn to pick out what is useful criticism and what is not useful criticism, right? Like if someone just tells you, oh, this is bad, but they don't tell you why or how it could be better, like, yeah, maybe you should like file it in the back of your head as like an extra data point. But if you don't see anything obviously wrong, then, you kind of just have to move on with your life, right? Whereas if someone gives you negative criticism, but they also give you like, oh, here are some things that you should consider, you have a lot more data to play with, right? You can sort of think about logically, does it make sense? You can experiment with, taking their point of view. And maybe you'll find that they're right, maybe they're wrong. At the end of the day, you have to make the final decision yourself. So I talk about first principles and trying to figure out the truth. And that's really sort of the key in all of this.
Thank you, David. Very good answer from your side. Because we also we faces this kind of problem. You can say a constructive comment. Sometimes it make us sad. So yeah. So next, I want to ask a question that those people who are want to start a startup or want to start a business. So what's your suggestion on that? What's your thinking on that? How can they go to conduct a business?
Yeah, so that's there can be a really long answer for this, but let me see what the biggest talking points are here. I think the most important one is, being honest with yourself and figuring out exactly why you want to go and do this. Because, the thing is, like, it's not for everyone, right? Like, everyone has different things that they want to get out of life or different things that they enjoy doing or find fulfillment in. And, doing a startup is not what's going to be fulfilling for everyone. So I guess I can give some examples and some counter examples. So, I guess at least for me personally, these past, few years running stably, I've learned so much. And I think that's a common pattern that you'll see. If you go and decide to do a startup, you'll learn a lot regardless of whether it succeeds or fails. So, if you're into that sort of learning experience, if you really like to, drink from the fire hose, as they say. So, there's so much going on. You have to pick things up quickly. It's also a chance for you to grow as a person. You have to push yourself because there's always going to be so much that needs to get done and not enough people to do it. And, if you're lucky, that will keep happening and it will be a long, long grind, right? So there's a saying that says overnight successes are built years in advance, right? So, if you want that overnight success, most likely you're going to have to work years ahead of time to build up to that. So what kind of things can you not expect, or at least shouldn't expect? So a lot of people go into doing startups expecting to make money. And, of course, if you get successful and, you have a nice exit or something, that is something that you can experience. But on average, I would say the startup or entrepreneurship experience is pretty negative expected value, meaning that if you account for the opportunity cost and everything else, you probably would have made more just working at like a regular job, right? And the reason for this is there's extreme survivorship bias in the space. You only really see the people that have succeeded. You really only see the people that have, actually survived the gauntlet of startup life. What you don't see is, the hundreds, the thousands of companies that never really made it. People spent years of their life doing something that hopefully they're passionate about. So at least, they had that. But, if you're hoping to, sort of do this as like a get rich quick thing, that's most likely not going to be what you actually get out of it. So actually, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Y Combinator, but Michael Siebel, one of the partners at YC, he wrote a great piece called, well, this is very specific for tech. So, people that are programmers or, in that sort of area. But the piece is called 3 Paths in the Tech Industry. If you have a chance, I would recommend looking it up. It runs through basically, what are the 3 top considerations for whether you want to, do your own startup, work for another startup, or just go for a stable job. And a lot of it relies on you doing some self-reflection, being honest with yourself, and knowing really what you want. Now, with that being said, it doesn't really hurt to try, especially if you're young, you don't have a lot of responsibilities. There's really not a better time than when you're young to sort of take a risk, especially if it's something that you're interested in.
Yeah, got it, David. So before going to the next question, I will take a comment. The comment is like written by Ashadullah Galib. He's our senior brother in our city. So his question is, do you think a tech entrepreneur should have writing ability, or is this a plus point to have writing habit? So
yeah, so that's a great question. Actually, I would say this is almost 2 questions. So personally, I'm a big writer. I really enjoy writing. I keep my own journal. I write documents just for myself, even if I don't publish them a lot of the time. And really the value in writing is communication. Well, communication if it's consumed by someone else, and sort of clearing or crystallizing your thoughts if you're just writing for yourself. Because a lot of the time you think you have a great idea, but until you try to work out all the little details, maybe you don't see the sort of small things that really break the idea or something like that. So a lot of the time, just putting something on paper lets you see flaws or holes that you wouldn't see if you just kept the idea in your head. And similarly, writing as a form of communication is definitely very important, especially as we're moving towards like a more, remote, distributed kind of working environment. Communication, I would say, is actually one of the most important skills as an entrepreneur. In the beginning, you don't really need it. It's just you or maybe one other person. But as you grow, really what determines how fast you can grow and how fast you can sort of scale up your product or your idea is going to be your ability to communicate that idea to others. And of course, there's formats like video, there's formats like, voice, talking to people, that sort of stuff. But writing is such a common form of communication, whether it's writing, press releases, technical documentation, or even just sending messages to people. There is an art to communication, and I think being good at it is definitely going to give you an advantage. Now, whether it's writing specifically versus other types of communication, or putting things down on paper, like for example, some people are extremely visual. So for those people, maybe they would be better off like drawing some diagrams or doing something like that. I think the important part basically is getting something out of your head and into a different medium. I think that is very valuable, and being able to use that to communicate, I think, will give you sort of a leg up over the people that won't. With all of these things, nothing really is mandatory or a golden ticket to success. They're all things that increase or decrease your chance of getting something out of it.
Yeah, that is very good question and also very good answer from David. So let's go for the next question to David. There are a lot of problems in everyone's life, like why you are interested to work on the financial service or solution. And I want to add something that you left Amazon and you are trying to do something financial solution. That's why you are to create it Stably. And for Bangladeshi, I want to say that for Bangladeshi, working on Amazon or Google is just like a dream job for us. So I think if I got the job of in Amazon or Google, I will not think to do anything else. So when I came to know that David left Amazon and CEO Corey left PitchBook, so I just shocked. Why did they do this? So just say about something about that why you are thinking of creating Stably, like history of Stably.
Yeah, so I definitely can't say. So I definitely can't say that it was an easy decision. Actually, I would say it probably ranks up there as one of the hardest decisions in my life. Not only was I deciding whether to leave Amazon to start Stably, but actually, it's funny that you mentioned Google, because I also had an offer from Google at the time to go work over there. So I was sort of deciding, do I want to stay at Amazon? Do I want to go to Google? Or do I want to start this new sort of adventure, right? And really what pushed me over the line and what made me decide to do Stably at all is that, first of all, I've always been passionate about financial markets, game theory, behavioral economics, all that sort of stuff. And, I even took some courses in college. In my free time, I would write trading algorithms, which, funny enough, is actually how I met my co-founder. But I would do all of these things, and it's always been a passion, but it's never really had a chance to take center stage in my life. So when I learned about blockchain, when I discovered cryptocurrency, I discovered this fusion of technology, finance, math, all of these things coming together. And it really felt like a once in a decade or maybe even once in a lifetime kind of opportunity. It was so early in the space, there weren't really that many people that knew about it. And it was something that I was very positive would become a permanent fixture in our lives in the future. So, thinking about it that way, and actually, funny enough, one of the inspirational, like, sort of people that gave me the push that I needed was, there was an old interview with Jeff Bezos, who is the founder of Amazon. He actually said something that really made me think about leaving Amazon. Basically, he said when he decided to start Amazon, he also left, a really well-paying job, a really comfortable lifestyle, that sort of stuff. But the question he asked himself was, on my deathbed, am I going to regret staying at this comfortable job, or am I going to regret not taking this opportunity to go and do something great? So after he thought about it that way, it was easy for him. And after I thought about it that way, it was also easy for me. So thank you, Jeff, for convincing me to leave your company. But yeah, so that aside, I mean, specifically, why Stably? I mean, there were other startup ideas, of course. I've always thought about entrepreneurship. But Stably really, like I said, it's just the fusion of all of my interests, right? Like, in order to effectively work in the blockchain space, you need to have some understanding of, game theory and economics. You need to have at least some basic, math. You need to at least have some, basic level of programming and software. And it's really this fusion of all of these different interests that made it like an irresistible opportunity for me. So I don't want to ramble too long about this, but that's sort of the gist of how I got here.
That is interesting, and also you can say inspiring, right? So let's go for next question from to you. That is, there are also many financial services. So why you think that Stably is different from others, and what is the mission and vision of Stably? Can you please state of that?
Yeah, so on one hand, so to answer the question of, how is Stably different from other like fintech or financial companies, and at some level, Stably is not that different, right? Like, everyone in the space is trying to make money easier to use, trying to make, the way that we interact and deal with value more seamless, lower cost, all that sort of stuff. But sort of, I mean, the big differentiator and, sort of why the company got started in the first place is, for the first time in human history, we've been able to bring the idea of money and value into a purely digital substrate. So what I mean by that is, beforehand, when people think about, like computers, electronics, software, all that sort of stuff, really the thing that it enabled was the free flow of information, right? For the first time, you could write something once and have a million different people run it or read it or whatever, which is great for things that are free. And if you look at all the things that the internet and computers, mobile phones, all this sort of stuff has done for our lives, I mean, to say that it's been game-changing would be like an understatement, right? It's changed so much about the way that we live, the way that we interact with not just the world, but also each other. And for the first time ever, we've been able to do a similar transformation for money. So the invention of Bitcoin, and that was sort of the proof of concept that showed the world, hey, a natively digital currency can actually work. And there were, to sort of see why this is so revolutionary, you kind of have to, actually a great starting point for this, if you're interested, is you can go and read the Bitcoin white paper. So, it's not a scary white paper. It's actually extremely non-technical. Well, I wouldn't say extremely non-technical, but if you don't have a background, you can still understand it. It's written in a way that's very consumable for the general public. But basically, Bitcoin combined all of these different ideas that were floating around into a system that would enable no one to own the system, but for participants in the system to still be able to agree on what people's balances are and all that sort of stuff. And that really opens the gates for a digital distributed money, right? Because if you want to be able to count something as money, you can't have anyone being able to just, copy paste, money, right? Creating money out of thin air would just make it worthless. So really, Bitcoin inventing a way for this money to not be owned by any single entity, but still be able to be digital, like that was such a game changer that, for us, it made so much sense to build a company around this technology. And I believe going forward, most financial services are going to migrate to use some aspect of blockchain. Now, I don't necessarily think that blockchain or cryptocurrency needs to replace everything we already use, or the way that financial institutions work. But like anything, it's a tool, right? When the internet first came out, not everyone jumped on to make a website or set up, their own domain or all that sort of stuff. It's an evolutionary process, and whether blockchain and cryptocurrency reaches that level someday, or stop somewhere short of that, I don't really know. The future is really hard to predict, but I do know that this is a technology that is here to stay because it enables something that we've never been able to do before. So yeah, that's the high level.
Yeah, thank you so much, David, for the answer. Now, going for the next question, I will take a comment from the audience. Like the question is, when you were on verge of leaving Amazon and starting a new adventure like Stably, did you had a fear? If Stably fails, then what's your next you will do? That's very good question and very critical question, I think. So David, please go on.
Yeah, I mean, of course, right? Like, when I said one of the most useful traits for an entrepreneur is the ability to take risk, this is sort of part of that, right? Like, of course, it's not a sure thing. In fact, in the beginning, most likely you are going to fail. The failure rate for startups is extremely high. And there were really sort of two things that I did to, I wouldn't say make the fear go away, but you have to decide whether it's worth moving on or not. And for me, I did, basically what I did was I listed out, okay, what are the worst things that would happen, if I failed? And then, what are the worst things that would happen, like basically I looked at all of these scenarios and I listed out the worst cases and I looked at them and I'm like, it's really not that bad, right? Like if you really think about it, like what's the worst that'll happen? Maybe you'll be out of a job for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Maybe, you'll have wasted some time. I mean, hopefully not, because it's a great learning experience. But, basically like the worst case wasn't that bad. And actually, I think Elon Musk said something. I don't mean to be quoting all of these, sort of tech CEOs, but I think Elon Musk said, when he was considering, how much risk he should take when he was starting, I forget which of his companies he was starting, but basically he was like, in this day and age, there's really not that much can go wrong, right? You're not going to starve to death. You're not going to freeze to death, right? Like we're not living in an environment where having a job is a life or death situation, right? Not like a hunter-gatherer back in the day when, being part of the tribe and doing your part was so critical for your literal survival. Nowadays, it's really more of like a pride or personal fear kind of thing. And if you can, sort of wrestle with that and get over it, really there's not that much, right? Especially if you're in tech. So, us or, whoever is in tech it's a little bit of a privileged situation to be in because there's so much demand for, good developers that, even if everything goes south, you can still just go get a job as a developer at some company and either try again or decide that it's not for you, right? So that's how I went about it.
Yeah, that's I got it. And maybe the audience who comment on this, I think he understand all the things. So next, go for the next question, David. The next question is for you that for Stably, there are some solution of Stably like Stably Prime, Stably Enterprise. give overview of that solutions. That what does Stably Prime do, what is Stably Prime and what is Stably Enterprise?
Sure. So currently there's sort of three main initiatives that we're working on. And like any startup, these sorts of things can change from month to month as well. But the things that we've sort of found that really add value are, number one, what we call tokenization, right? So taking real world assets and bringing them onto the blockchain. So we first did this with our own product, which is USDS. But we found that we learned so much in the process, and there's all of these other companies that want to leverage this technology and create their own solutions. So we created what we call Stably Enterprise, which is basically our sort of enterprise solutions arm. So we leverage all the technology that we built, all of our experience dealing with the regulatory hurdles. We've also built up a very close network of partners that we work with. And we're able to offer these types of solutions at a fraction of the cost of what they would do if they tried to do it all internally, because we know how much it cost us initially, right? We made all those mistakes already. We built all the infrastructure already. So now we're able to bring value to other businesses that want to do the same. Another product that we're focusing on, which you mentioned, is Stably Prime. So Stably Prime is a platform that we're launching that aims to be like a global all-in-one account. So what I mean by that is it's a place where you can store your money. It's a place where you can get into or out of cryptocurrency. It's a place where you can put some savings to generate some interest. It's sort of like a modern account for the modern day, right? For the people that want to learn about blockchain and cryptocurrency, they want to take advantage of the technology, but maybe they're not like math, maybe they're not that proficient with the cryptography that's involved. Maybe they don't want to learn how to manage their own private keys, all that sort of stuff. So Stably Prime aims to be an easy way for people to get into that. And by leveraging blockchain and cryptocurrency, we also solve a lot of issues that you wouldn't be able to solve with a traditional financial service. And if you would like to learn more, you can visit the website, which is stably.io, and there we list both of these main products. And the third area of the business that I'll briefly mention is our capital markets division. So here we do everything from helping clients create markets for their new tokens that we help them tokenize, to other sorts of bespoke like capital markets kinds of services. So for example, let's say you're someone that wants to list your token on an exchange that you just tokenized. So let's say you just tokenize silver, right? And you think the world is super excited to be able to trade silver, so you want to put it onto an exchange. But the issue that you have is you don't have a large trading team. You don't have your own experience for how to create a market. That's something that we help enterprise customers and other types of customers with as well. So at a super high level, that's the three main areas that we're focusing on. But again, like I said, being a startup, these sorts of things change with the market. So if you ask me again in 6 months, I'll probably have a slightly different answer for you.
Thank you, David. So that is so informative because so many people don't know about Stably Prime and the services of Stably. So next question is for you, that Stably is improving day by day. Recently, Stably has got partnership with many companies like a Bangladeshi company, like a Vietnam company, and many others. So what do you think that what are the key things impact on Stably so that Stably has come so far? Because you are the co-founder, you and Corey both thinking to create a financial services institution that is Stably. So what are the key things impact on Stably so that you guys this Stably comes so far?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, it's impossible to know the true reason, but I can sort of take a guess. And of course, the number one reason I would say is really just luck. With all of these sorts of opportunities, you need a little bit of luck. Now, luck doesn't have to be something that you sit around and you wait for. A lot of the times you have to make your own luck. There's certain things that you can do to increase your probability of getting lucky. And some of those include staying flexible. If you keep an open mind, oftentimes you'll see opportunities and be able to grab onto them that you normally wouldn't see. So for example, let's say you're doing something, but a better opportunity comes up. If you do your research and you see that it makes sense and you're able to grab onto this new opportunity, sometimes it'll basically help you get lucky, right? Like from the outside, that's what it looks like, right? It looks like, oh, those guys were so lucky to be in that space. But it could be that, there was a lot of planning, there was a lot of thinking, and there was a lot of, staying flexible that was involved in that. Another thing that I would say is very important is learning from your mistakes, because if you're going to go and do your own thing, like no matter what it is, actually even just living life, right, you're going to make so many mistakes. It's impossible to go through life not making mistakes. And the best thing that you can really do is learn from your mistakes, right? If you keep making the same mistake, you're not going to be improving, right? But if you can learn from each of your mistakes, then you'll get better over time. You'll start making less mistakes over time. And, that sort of compounds on itself. And that'll really help you sort of build up this snowball to help you succeed. And really another thing I would say that's very crucial for, any sort of enterprise really, is building a great team. So, you can only be, so some businesses, of course, you can run by yourself, and, those kinds of businesses are great as well. But if you want to build a business that requires people in order to scale, then you need to find the right people, right? If you can find people that share your mission, if you find people that are passionate about your product or your users, then they're going to help you also improve the company day by day. So it's not just yourself sort of pushing the wheel anymore. Now you have a team that's also helping you move in the right direction, find opportunities, catch mistakes, all that sort of stuff. So I would say, these three things are probably what I would say are the most important for keeping in mind. So, staying flexible, being able to create that luck for yourself, learning from your mistakes, and of course, building a great team.
Thank you, David, for your answer. So now we came to know that what is the key factor that impact on Established, so that Established has come so far. So now I want to know about the future of Established, that how you want to see Established has gone so far. Established will go so far. What's your plan of Established?
Yeah, so obviously the easy answer is, I hope Stably succeeds and becomes, a large company that can serve a lot of customers, but that's not a very exciting answer, right? So I think at a high level, I hope that Stably can provide people with access to financial tools and services that they normally wouldn't be able to access. Like, for example, as someone that, has spent most of their lives in the US, I can say that people in the US are very spoiled when it comes to financial services, right? There's not really any kind of financial service that you can't get. But if you look outside of the US, you look outside of, the UK, Singapore, like these financial hubs, if you look at, basically like 90% of the rest of the world, you see that there's a lot of improvement and there's a lot of things that, most of the world doesn't have access to. And we hope that by leveraging blockchain and cryptocurrency, we can bring a lot of these services to people in a way that's accessible, in a way that's, seamless, and in a way that lets people improve their lives, right? Like, for example, there's a lot of people living in countries where, they can't even trust their own money, they can't even trust their own banks. And these are problems that we believe, cryptocurrency is well equipped to solve. So, whether we solve this at a huge scale or, a medium scale, I think the important thing at the end of the day is to, make an impact on the world and be able to help some people, live easier lives. So.
Yeah, thank you, David. Next, I want to say something for the audience. যারা বাংলাদেশ থেকে দেখছেন তাদেরকে আমি অনুরোধ জানাবো যে আপনার যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে বাংলায় অথবা ইংলিশ যেটা আপনারা প্রেফার করেন সেটাতে আপনারা কমেন্ট করবেন। অবশ্যই ডেভিড আছে, সে অনেক এক্সপিরিয়েন্স এবং টেক সেক্টরে কিভাবে জব পাওয়া যায় এই ব্যাপারগুলো সে মানে আপনাদেরকে ইনফরমেশন অনেক ভালো দিতে পারবে বলে আমি মনে করি। So yeah, David, let's go for the next question. That still in the world, people are not that much familiar with fintech, or I can say for the Bangladeshi people, we still are not that much familiar, and that is the unknown things, cryptocurrency, fintech, and these things, digital money. What is that? Something. So, and what's your thoughts on the future of the fintech? Like how fintech will go so far? I think is there any possibility that one day we will no go for the traditional bank and we will depend on this kind of fintech company or something?
Yeah, I mean, I would say fintech is an interesting space to be in because on one hand, fintech is just like any other industry, right? People are trying to improve, services and products that serve people, except sort of the unique position that fintech companies are in is that it's dealing with people's money, right? And when it comes to money, usually there's a lot at stake. So there's this delicate balance between innovation and, sort of going slow and steady. And that's really, I think, what's unique about the challenge of being a fintech company. Because on one hand, like you want to innovate, you want to do all of these new cool things, but on the other hand, you have a responsibility to be, responsible with dealing with, other people's money, introducing new technologies and all that sort of stuff. I think as time goes on, fintech will only grow as more of the world comes into like the global economy, as more people gain, like convenient, high-speed internet access, as more people, move beyond like sustenance, like working to feed yourself, feed your family, provide, and start having savings. And then once people start having savings, they'll think about, how do I invest? How do I make my money work for me instead of just, me working for my money? And, these sort of things are only going to increase because, people are only going to get wealthier, countries are only going to get wealthier, and technology will keep improving. The internet's not going away anytime soon. So fintech, I think, is going to grow and grow and grow because everyone needs a way to deal with their money, right? Whether you're like a food merchant that's just trying to sell to their customers, or whether you're a business owner and you need to manage payments to other companies, all this sort of stuff. The traditional way of moving money where you just take cash or some sort of physical asset and you give it to someone else, that's becoming rarer and rarer, right? Especially since business is done at bigger distances, at bigger scales. It's not practical. So you have to rely on technology in order to, move and facilitate value transfer. And that's really where fintech companies have a chance to shine. Not just about the movement of money, but also, making it more efficient, reducing human effort. As I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember, but accounting used to be done just in people's heads, right? Like if I want to, write down some records and, keep track of all of this inventory, I have to do it in my head or I have to do it on a piece of paper. But then calculators came along, that made it a lot less, straining for people. It was a lot easier to do that sort of work. Spreadsheets came along And now you have all of these specialized fintech companies that are looking to solve the problem even more. So I think fintech is just going to keep growing. I mean, especially, with the way that the world is moving. So.
Yeah, thank you, David. My next question for going to the next question, I will take another comment, uh, and this is the related to my next question that what should be the key factor while hiring new employee for tech startup? That is that commented by Ashadullah Galib. He also commented the first commented before. So, what is the key factor while hiring a new employee for a tech startup? So, David, for answering the next question, I will also add that what are the skills you are looking for working on is or if anyone's want to work a developer to stably, because the thing is that thank you so much you guys, because you have given me the chance to work with you. You guys are so well and so friendly that I think it's a very cool company of Stably. So yeah, David, go on.
Yeah, so I guess I'll answer the general question first. And, I'll start from most general and then I'll go more specific. So whenever you're looking to build a team, you really need to know what you're looking for, because what makes a good member for one team does not necessarily make a good member for another team. So you really need to know, what kinds of people you can work well with, what kinds of skills or what kinds of personalities you want to build this team with, because we're all human at the end of the day, so we need to be able to work with each other. So if you hire someone with great skills but you don't get along, and you'll always be sort of conflicting with each other and nothing will get done, right? So being able to work with each other is very important. Earlier, I think that there was a question about like writing. So I'm going to talk about communication again. Being able to communicate clearly is also one of the most important skills, no matter what kind of position you're going into, whether it's developer or marketing or business development. Like all of these roles, you need communication, because if you want to be on the same page, if you want to make sure that what you're doing is what needs to be done at the end of the day, then you need to make sure that you can communicate correctly. Because if you miscommunicate and you end up doing work that doesn't make sense or isn't what's needed, then you'll just have wasted not just your own time, but also the company's time, right? So communication, I can't stress how critical communication is. It really is one of the most important skills if you want to advance your career or start your own company or do anything that involves other people, really. Another thing that I would say that's a good general skill to have is the ability to take responsibility. So this is often called ownership. So being able to take responsibility for something, being able to do things before you're told, being able to really feel like it's something that you care about, right? That really is extremely valuable. It's the difference between someone that's passionate about their jobs versus someone that's just doing their jobs for the sake of a job. And of course, some people, they just don't really care about their jobs. They just want a job to make a living, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to work at a startup, that's most likely not what you're looking for, right? Because startups generally are riskier. They're generally more work. So these are things that, if you're just looking to make a living, it's not a good fit for you, right? And then I would say the last thing that I will talk about real quick is having like a growth mindset. So this means you're constantly learning. This means, you don't give up when you reach something that you don't know, right? You try to figure out, okay, how can I learn this thing? Or how can I find a solution? All that sort of stuff. Because if you have what's the opposite of a growth mindset, which is a fixed mindset, then you're just going to end up doing the same thing and you're not going to grow. And that doesn't really work at a startup because startups are always growing. So the people need to grow with it. Otherwise, it'll be very easy to fall behind. With that being said, like, I don't want to make startups sound like an overwhelming or scary place. It just really is something that, you have to be prepared to handle, right? Because not everyone enjoys, things always changing, always having to learn new things. Some people, prefer to sort of just master one thing and keep doing that. And there's a lot of places where you can, find a lot of fulfillment and success doing that. But most likely a small startup is not the place. I guess I'll talk briefly about the developer side as well. And this varies a lot from startup to startup. So I'll just talk about Stably specifically. At Stably, because we're working in a very new space, we can't go like, oh, we're hiring people with, 10 years of blockchain experience. There's probably less than 100 people that meet that qualifications, right? So what we look for are people that are very strong generalists, meaning that, they know a lot of things. And it also means that they're able to pick up and learn new skills very quickly. So instead of relying on people to be familiar with, all of these things that we do, we find people that have the growth mindset, that are able to pick up, these new skills and have the potential to grow into what we think is the right goal for them. So yeah, I'm not going to say like, oh, we look for React developers or we look for people, that know Golang or something like that. Obviously, if you already have familiarity with the tools that we use, that's great. But if you don't, we're really just looking for people that can pick things up quickly because, while our tools may change, while our code base may change, the one thing that will stay constant is the need to learn and always improve.
Yeah, thank you, David, for your nice answer. So we are at the end now. Let's before going to end, I want to take another comment. The comment is name is not shown here. So what should be the first look when a person wants to start a new startup? Yeah, you already mentioned, but can you please repeat?
Yeah, so I guess there are sort of two ways to look at this question, right? The first one is, how do you know for yourself that this is the right thing to do? And the second one is, how do you validate that this is something that's worth doing, right? So I already talked a lot about, figuring out what you want and making sure that this is the right thing for you. But let's say that, you are sure that you want to do a startup. And let's say that you have some idea that you want to try out, right? So how can you try out this idea without, building the full product and having a full company that does this? There's a lot of ways. And the easiest one is to talk about it, right? A lot of people are sort of afraid to talk about their ideas because they think, oh, this person will think my idea is stupid, or, oh, this person will steal my idea, or, something like that. But really, talking to people is the best way to validate your idea, right? Other people will see things and think about things that you won't think about. And this is sort of the easiest way to get feedback without a product, without customers, without all this sort of stuff, right? Just talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to people in the industry that you're looking to get into, talk to people that you think might be your future customers. Like, all of these people have something to teach you. And by talking to them, you can at least get a glimpse of what that is. Now, of course, you can't take everyone's feedback as, the truth, because, some people will just have inaccurate data, or, maybe they're not someone that would even care about your product in the first place. So these are all things to keep in mind. But I think if you're looking to validate your idea, you should do it early and you should do it often. Don't wait until you spent a year building your product to figure out if it's the right thing to do. Do it before you even, write the first line of code or talk to the first, hire or something like that.
Yeah. Thank you, David, for your answer. We are almost at the end. So now I want to ask, like you can say off topic. So is if you want to share any interesting moment of working stably, like I want to add something that is, I feel sometimes sad. Why? Because you guys go for hangouts. Recent, you maybe in June you guys go for all the office members go for NetRank in beach, and you guys enjoyed a lot. And recently you have done an official dinner. So I think that yeah, staying in Bangladesh, I miss that. If I were in Vietnam, I will also join with you guys. So uh, tell the audience something about any interesting moments of working stably.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many interesting moments. I don't really know. You brought up some, exciting team events and activities. So, with the global pandemic and the whole, COVID situation, unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder to sort of do these company-wide types of events and activities. But we're fortunate enough to have an office in Vietnam, and Vietnam has the whole coronavirus situation in a very good state. So we've been fortunate in the Vietnam office to be able to go out and still do a lot of the types of traditional team activities. And actually, I feel like one of the major challenges going forward is going to be how companies with a lot of working from home or a lot of remote and distributed teams, like how you create that same sort of atmosphere and sense of belonging and team without the ability to have everyone meet up in person and do all of these sorts of things. And one of the things that we try to do at Stably, at least one of the things that we've tried a few times is we do like a digital hangout. So we'll pick some sort of activity or we'll pick some sort of topic and we'll all get together and do that like distributed remotely all around the world. And that's been really rewarding for me because it lets me talk to and interact with a lot of people that I normally don't get to spend that much time with. And even though you're not in person, just being able to do some small activities with people does really help bring people together, especially during a time when so many of us are isolated. So I think being able to do these sorts of things despite everything that's going on has been extremely, I guess, rewarding.
Yeah. But the thing is that digital hangout is not that much attractive, that much you can say. That I will not accept it. I will not accept it.
Yeah, I guess we can hope one day that virtual reality or augmented reality gets good enough so that we can all be in the same place without actually being in the same place. But until we get there, I mean, it's a challenge. Yeah, I mean, it's unpaved territory. Actually, this is a great startup opportunity, right? Engaging distributed teams, creating some sort of digital like team experience. I think there's a big opportunity in this space.
Yeah, obviously. So no, I will not accept the virtual reality also. If I hope I can get a chance to work with you in Vietnam and go here and enjoy with you guys.
Yeah, I hope so as well. I hope this whole, global pandemic situation gets better soon.
Yeah. So now, I already said that we are almost at the finish now. David, do you want to do something like any extracurricular activities things like you want to sing a song or recite or something for the audience because audience are hearing a long like technology related talking like almost 1 hour. So did you want to do something like that?
So I do love singing, and actually karaoke is one of the things.
Oh my God, David, please. Okay, you can go only 2 lines or 4 lines. It can be okay, but I want from you.
All right. So there's a very classic song in the US that a lot of people sing when, they're out with friends, they've had, too many drinks, something like that. And it's about a state in the US that I've actually never spent any time in. But the song is called Country Roads, and I'll sing you guys a few lines from it. If this is offensive to your ears, feel free to, mute me, but I'll give it a try.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, you can carry on.
All right, so here goes. It starts like this. Actually, I forgot the first lines.
Okay, you can take time, no problem.
Yeah, here's the chorus. So you guys might have even heard the song. It's very popular, but it goes like,
maybe I heard that, but
take me home to a place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads. All right, so that's the chorus. That's all I'm going to sing. If you guys want to hear more, go look up the song yourselves.
Wow, that's you sing so well, David. I will tell every member of the family that if any occasion happened of insisting of family members, you will be the singer. You will.
I don't think so. I think it's just a mic. The mic is doing me some good here.
Yeah. So David, we are almost at the finish. So is there any, in the conclusion, is there something you want to say for the audience? Then we will finish the live.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if there's any one thing that I want to leave you guys with, it's, this is obviously a very difficult time for everyone, but if you can take advantage of this to, explore some of your interests, or try to get something meaningful out of it, I think it's also a great opportunity. So just being here and trying to learn some new things, get some new perspectives, that's already that's great, that's wonderful, right? Like, I hope that more people can be passionate and curious and always learning. So I guess that's the message I'll leave you guys with.
Yeah, that's so important for this kind of pandemic period. So David, at last I want to say thank you so much that you have given a very good time with us. Whenever I just planning to go a live session with you or Corey, and you accepted the live, and I know that you were so busy, but you have given the time. Thank you so much, David, once again. Stay safe. Hopefully, Stable will go longer and we will do more work.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and take care, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, David. So you can leave now, then I will say the something conclusion to the audience, and I will end the session. সো সবাইকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ, থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ যে আপনারা এত ধৈর্য ধরে এতক্ষণ ধরে শুনলেন। আপনারা হয়তো বা ডেভিডকে দেখলেন যে ও আসলে কতটা কুল এবং কতটা চার্মিং একজন পার্সন, কতটা ফ্রেন্ডলি একজন পার্সন। সো স্ট্যাবলিতে কাজ করে আমি নিজেও আসলে অনেক মানে ইউ ক্যান সে দ্যাট আই ব্লেসড ওয়ার্কিং এট স্ট্যাবলি, আই ফিল ব্লেসড। সো সবাই ভালো থাকবেন, প্রে ফর মি, প্রে ফর স্ট্যাবলি অলসো, সো দ্যাট ইট উইল গো longer and it will go top. So stay safe and fine. Thank you.